Hello, my name is Erich Westrich. I work for a large protein company in the US. Today, we will be talking about agricultural exceptionalism, past, present, and future. This is not okay. So, is it okay for children to work in factories such as this? We've created laws to keep factories from hiring children. But is this okay? We have not created laws that prohibit children from working on a farm. Agricultural exceptionalism. What is it? Agricultural exceptionalism is the use of legal exceptions to protect the agricultural industry. The term often references its American origins in labor laws, where agriculture laborers were excluded from many of the protections afforded to other workers. The concept has expanded to protect farmers from involuntary bankruptcy, exempt them from environmental regulations, and exempt them from antitrust restrictions. This documentary will focus on labor exceptions and environmental exemptions. Before the reforms of the 1980s, labor forces on farms were made up of Hispanic and African American people. When the United States annexed Mexican provinces, the Mexican people who had settled there were run off, assaulted, or forced into farm work. The farm workforce of the United States was made up of mostly Mexican migrants. The Fair Labor Standards Act was signed into law in 1938 by Franklin Roosevelt. This law set new rules for minimum wage, overtime pay, maximum work weeks, restrictions on child labor, and more. To obtain sufficient support for these reforms, Roosevelt and his allies had to compromise with Southern congressmen to protect the plantation South. This is why farm workers were originally exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act. These migrants were often treated to hazardous working conditions, long hours, and low pay, often below minimum wage. The farmers would also offer lodging, transportation, clothing, food, and tools at exorbitant prices. Labor laws did not protect these migrant workers. The Clean Water Act of 1972 established the basic structure for regulating discharge of pollutants into the waters of the United States. The Clean Water Act defines sources of pollution as point and non-point sources. Point sources are specific sources of pollution, such as discharge pipes. These are easy to see in things such as factories, power plants, water treatment plants. Non-point sources cannot be specifically sourced. A farm is a non-point source. Agricultural stormwater discharge flows off farms, bringing fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, and other pollutants directly to waterways. Since these farm fields are non-point sources, they do not have to comply with the Clean Water Act. In 1983, the Agriculture Worker Protection Act was enacted. This act helped to eliminate farm labor contractors who refused to pay workers or charged large fees for things such as lodging and food and transportation. In the present day, not much has changed. There are several bills that have been crafted to address labor issues involved with agricultural exceptionalism. In May of 2017, several senators introduced a bill called the Agricultural Worker Program Act of 2017. The bill would establish a path to lawful residency and citizenship for undocumented farm workers who have been consistently employed in U.S. agriculture and met other requirements. This proposal is known colloquially as the Blue Card Program because eligible workers can first earn a blue card and then apply for a green card after continuing to work in agriculture for 3 to 5 years. This bill has not been brought up for a vote. A similar program was included in a 2013 comprehensive immigration bill that passed in the Senate, but unfortunately was never brought to a vote in the House. The legislature of the USA has also been slow to address agricultural exceptionalism in respect to the Clean Water Act. Many states have started programs to address stormwater runoff. For instance, Minnesota has started a program called the Minnesota Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, or MNCREEP. This program utilizes state and federal funding to create mitigation wetlands around farms to catch stormwater runoff. This program helps farms comply with the clean water laws. The future of agricultural exceptionalism is not very clear. There are many laws and acts that both state and federal legislatures are considering. The problem is that many of the farms affected by these laws need capital to conform. As the planet warms and farming becomes more difficult, there needs to be more support for farmers. As technology advances, more techniques will be available to conform to current laws. I feel that agricultural exceptionalism does not have a place in our future. All people have a right to be treated fairly. We cannot afford farms polluting our environment. Farms can no longer be exempted from laws and regulations simply because they provide the food we need every day. It benefits everyone, farmers and workers alike, when we can find solutions to the problems we face in the future of farming. Thank you. And these are my references. Reference slide 1 and reference slide 2.